The silent purchase asterisk Jace walked through the docking bay, his boots echoing on the metal floor. The air smelled of old oil and burned circuits. Traders shouted over each other, trying to sell broken parts, crates of food, and caged animals. He kept his eyes forward. He was tired of this place, tired of the noise and the greed, but as he passed a line of cages, something made him stop. In the last cage, behind rusted bars, sat a small figure. She looked almost human, but her skin was a soft silver color. Long dark hair fell around her thin shoulders. She wore a simple cloth dress, dirty and torn. Her head was bowed, her hands resting in her lap. She did not move. When he stopped to look out, a fat trader noticed Jace's interest and waddled over, rubbing his hands together. Double quotes, you have a good eye, the trader said, grinning. Very rare find. I picked her up on the outer rim. Jace frowned. What is she? The trader shrugged. No one knows for sure. Some lost species. Pretty to look at, isn't she? Jace looked closer. The girl's silver skin was marked with thin scars, as if someone had tried to chain her before. Does she speak? He asked quietly. The trader laughed, a short, ugly sound. Not a word. She's mute. Been that way since I got her. Doesn't fight. Doesn't cry. Worthless because of it, if you ask me. Jace felt something twist in his chest. He had seen many sad things in this place, animals in cages, children sold as workers, but this was different. She looked so still, like she had given up. He crouched down to her level. Slowly, he reached through the bars and set his hand palm up on the floor. Her silver eyes lifted to meet his. For a moment, he forgot to breathe. Her eyes were not empty. They were full of something deep and old, something he could not name. Can you understand me? He asked softly. She did not answer. She did not look away. The trader snorted. She understands. She just can't talk. Jace looked up at the man. How much? 10 credits, the trader said. Worth more, but she's useless. Jace stood slowly. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the small stack of credits he had saved. It was almost everything he had left. He counted out 10 credits and handed them over. The trader looked surprised. You really want her? Yes, Jace said simply. The trader shrugged and took the money. He pressed a button on his belt, and the cage door clicked open. She's yours, he said. No returns. Jace stepped closer and held out his hand again. Come on, he said softly. You're free now. For a long moment, she did not move. Her silver eyes flicked from his face to his hand. Then, slowly, she reached out and placed her small hand in his. Her skin was warm. Jace helped her stand. She was lighter than he expected. She wobbled on her feet, but did not fall. The trader watched them with a smirk. Good luck, he said. You need it. Jace ignored him. He guided the girl out of the docking bay and into the quiet halls of his ship. The door closed behind them, shutting out the noise of the market. She looked around, her eyes wide. She had probably never been inside a ship like this. This is my home, Jace said. It's not much, but it's safe. She did not respond. He led her to the small kitchen and pulled out a chair. She sat without being told. Are you hungry? He asked. No answer. He opened a packet of soft bread and set it on the table. He poured clean water into a cup and placed it in front of her. She stared at the food, but did not touch it. Jace pulled out the chair across from her and sat down. I don't know what happened to you, he said gently, but you're safe. Now she lifted her eyes to his again. They were so clear it almost hurt to look at them. He picked up the piece of bread and broke it in half. He set one piece closer to her eat. He said softly. Slowly, she reached for the bread. Her fingers trembled. She took a small bite and chewed carefully. Jace felt a small knot in his chest loosen. He watched her eat in silence. He did not ask questions. Not yet. When she finished, she folded her hands in her lap and looked at him. Her lips moved just a little. For a moment, he thought she would speak. But no sound came. She closed her mouth and lowered her head again. Jace leaned back in his chair. It's all right, he said quietly. You don't have to talk. Not until you're ready. Outside, the engines hummed softly. The ship felt calm, but Jace knew something had changed the moment she looked at him. He did not know her name. He did not know her story. But he knew one thing: he would not let her be hurt again. Asterisk a quiet bond. Asterisk the ship was quiet except for the soft hum of the engines. Jace stood at the small sink, washing the dishes from their simple meal. He glanced over his shoulder to where the girl still sat at the table. She watched him with those silver eyes, calm but alert. When he finished, he dried his hands and walked back to her. He pulled another chair over so he could sit closer. "Can you understand me?" he asked again. His voice gentle. She looked at his mouth as he spoke, then slowly nodded once. He felt a little hope spark in his chest. "Good," he said softly. "I'm Jace." She tilted her head, studying him. "Do you have a name?" he asked. She did not move. After a moment, she lowered her eyes. "It's all right," Jace said. "You don't have to tell me now." He stood and opened a small cupboard. Inside were clean blankets and extra clothes. He chose a soft gray shirt and folded it carefully. "These are for you," he said, laying the clothes on the table. She reached out, touching the fabric with her fingertips. He pointed to the narrow hallway. "The washroom is there," he said. "You can clean up if you want." She hesitated, then picked up the clothes. When she stood, she wobbled a little, but she stayed on her feet. Jace watched her walk slowly down the hall. He heard the door slide shut behind her. He sat back down and let out a long breath. His heart was still beating fast. He had never done something like this before. Never bought a living being. Never brought a stranger into his home. But when he saw her in that cage, he had known he could not leave her there. He rubbed his eyes with the heel of his hand. Maybe he was a fool. Maybe he was in danger. But he did not regret it. A soft sound pulled him from his thoughts. He looked up. The washroom door had opened again. She stood there wearing the clean shirt, her damp hair falling over her shoulders. The scars on her arms looked even darker against her silver skin. She held the dirty dress in one hand. She looked unsure what to do with it. "Here," Jay said. He took the dress and set it in a bin by the door. "You don't have to wear that again." She watched him with wide eyes. He pointed to the small couch in the corner. "You can rest there," he said. She crossed the room slowly. When she sat down, she curled her legs under her and pulled the blanket over her shoulders. Jay sat in the chair across from her. For a long time, they did not speak. The ship drifted through space, the engines a steady comfort. He tried to think of what to say, how to ask her what she needed. "Are you hungry?" he asked at last. She shook her head. "Thirsty?" She shook her head again. He sighed. "Can you tell me anything?" Her eyes flicked to his face. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Instead, she lifted one hand and pressed it flat against her throat. "It hurts?" Jace guessed softly. She nodded once. He felt something twist in his heart. "I'm sorry," he said. She looked down at her hands. He wished he knew how to help her. He wished he understood what she had been through. "You don't have to be afraid here," he said. "I promise." Her eyes lifted to meet his again for the first time. He thought he saw something warm in them, a small light. He reached for a small data pad on the table. He tapped the screen until a keyboard appeared. "Maybe you can type?" he asked. He held the pad out to her. She took it in both hands. Her fingers hovered over the keys. Slowly, she typed one word. "Safe." Jace's throat felt tight. He swallowed before he spoke. "Yes," he said. "You're safe." She looked at the word she had typed, then at him. Her lips moved, but still no sound came. He watched her carefully. "My name is Jace," he repeated gently. "What is your name?" She looked down at the data pad again. Her hands shook a little as she typed Lyra. He read the name out loud. "Lyra." She nodded once, her silver eyes soft. "It's a good name," he said. She set the pad in her lap and pulled the blanket tighter around her shoulders. Her eyes closed. And for the first time since he had seen her, she looked like she could rest. Jace leaned back in his chair. He did not know what would happen tomorrow. But tonight, he knew she was safe. And that was enough. Hidden knowledge asters, the ship drifted quietly through space. Outside the windows, small stars moved like silver dust. Inside, everything was calm. Jace sat at the small table, studying the data pad. He had searched every record he could find, trying to learn more about Lyra's people, but nothing matched her silver skin or the strange marks on her arms. He rubbed his tired eyes and looked over at the couch. Lyra slept curled up under the blanket, her breathing slow and steady. In sleep, she looked even younger. Her hair fell across her face in dark waves. He set the pad down and stood. He moved quietly across the room and knelt beside her. "Lyra," he whispered. Her eyes opened at once. They were clear, not confused like most people after waking. Sorry, he said softly. I didn't mean to scare you. She blinked slowly, waiting. I want to show you something, Jace said. He picked up a small recorder from the table. Earlier, he had turned it on by accident. It had captured the strange melody she hummed in her sleep. He pressed the button. The soft, humming sound filled the ship. Lyra sat up, her eyes wide. Do you know this? Jace asked gently. Her lips parted. She looked at the recorder as if it was something precious. Is it important? He asked. She nodded once, slowly. Is it a language? Her eyes lifted to his. She pressed her hand over her throat, then back to her heart. A song, Jace guessed. She nodded again. He watched her carefully. Your song. Her eyes closed, and for a moment, he thought she might cry. It's all right, he said softly. You don't have to tell me more yet. Lyra reached for the recorder. He placed it in her hand. She held it gently, like it might break. I think this song matters to you, Jace said. Maybe it can help you speak again. Her fingers traced the smooth surface of the recorder. Can you show me? He asked. She looked down. Her lips moved, but no sound came. It's okay, Jace said. We have time. He stood and walked to the kitchen. He poured a cup of warm tea and brought it to her. She took it with both hands. You don't have to be afraid, he said again. She looked at him over the rim of the cup. Her silver eyes were full of questions he did not know how to answer. He sat back down and picked up the data pad. I looked everywhere, he said. No records, no name for your people. She watched his hands as he tapped through the screens. But maybe, he said slowly, maybe we can find something together. She set the tea down and reached for the pad. He passed it to her without a word. She tapped carefully, her small hands shaking. Song keeps us alive. Jace read the words. Your song keeps you alive? He asked. She nodded. Can you show me how? Her eyes lowered. She tapped again. Need voice. He felt something twist in his chest. You can't sing it, he said quietly, because you can't speak. Her eyes shone with tears. She did not let fall. We'll figure it out, Jay said. She stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she set the pad aside. She pressed her palm to his chest, right over his heart. He froze. Her hand was warm. Her lips moved again, silently shaping words. He wished he could hear them. Lyra, he said softly, you don't have to be alone in this. Her eyes lifted to his. For the first time, he saw a small hope there. Outside, the stars kept moving. Inside, in the quiet ship, something had changed. He did not understand her song. He did not understand her past. But he knew she trusted him, even if she could not say it. He reached up and covered her hand with his. I'm here, he said. I'll help you. She nodded once. Very slowly. Her hand fell back to her lap. But she did not look away. And in her eyes, Jace thought he saw the first sign that her voice was not truly gone, only waiting. Danger arrives. Hours passed in quiet. The ship moved through the stars, slow and steady. Jace worked at the small workbench, fixing a broken tool. Lyra sat on the couch, watching him with calm eyes. Every now and then, she turned the recorder over in her hands, her fingers traced the smooth edges like it was something sacred. When you are ready, Jace said softly, we can try again. She looked at him and nodded once. He was about to say more when the control panel flashed red. A loud alarm beeped through the ship. Jace single quotes as heart jumped. He crossed the room into steps and pressed the comms button. Incoming ship. The computer said in a flat voice. No ID. No transponder. Jace felt cold. There was only one person. He knew who would come, without warning. The traitor. He looked at Lyra. Her eyes were wide, her hands tight around the recorder. Listen to me, he said quickly. Go to the storage hatch. Hide there. She did not move. Lyra, he said firmly, you must hide. Her lips parted, but no sound came. Please, he said. Finally, she stood. She slipped past him and disappeared into the small hidden compartment under the floor. He pressed the panel closed behind her. He turned back to the controls. The ship outside was large and dark, blocking the starlight. A calm signal crackled. Jace. The traitor's oily voice said, you have something that belongs to me, Jace. Felt anger rise in his chest. She doesn't belong to anyone, he said. Wrong, the traitor replied. She is property, and you are a thief. She is a person, Jace said through his teeth. Then you can watch her suffer, the traitor said. Before Jace could answer, the traitor's ship fired a warning shot. A blast of bright energy shook the hull. Mel groaned all around him. Lyra was hidden, but she must have felt the impact. He prayed she would stay quiet. I will search your ship, the traitor said. If you fight, I will destroy you. The comms cut off. Jace backed away from the controls. He grabbed the old rifle from the rack by the door. His hands shook, but he forced himself to breathe. He could not let them take her again. The ship's ramp opened with a hiss. Cold air rushed, and heavy boots clanged on the floor as the traitor's guards climbed aboard. Their armor was dark gray, marked with yellow symbols. Each carried a long shock rod. Jace aimed the rifle. Leave, he ordered. You won't find her. One guard laughed. You are alone. Mechanic, you cannot stop us. They split into groups, moving past him into the ship. The first guard raised his rod, but Jace did not fire. He could not risk hitting the storage hatch by mistake. Search everywhere, the guard ordered. Jace backed into the kitchen. He needed to draw them away from Lyra. She's not here. He lied. The guards ignored him. They opened every cupboard, pulled blankets off the couch, kicked open the bathroom door. Jace single quotes as heart pounded. He tried to stay calm, but he knew time was running out. In the silence, he heard something he did not expect. A soft, broken voice. Jace, his breath caught. He turned. Lyra stood in the hallway. Her eyes were wide with fear, but her mouth was open, and her voice soft as a whisper was real. Stay, she said. The guards froze. Jace felt hope and terror twist together. Double quotes Lyra. No, he said. Go back, but she shook her head. Stay, she repeated, a little louder. The guards turned toward her. There she is, one said. Jace lifted the rifle. His finger pressed the trigger. A loud blast shook the hall. The first guard fell, his armor smoking. Lyra, run, he shouted, but she did not move. She looked at him, her lips forming words he could not hear over the alarms. The last guard stepped forward. His shock rod lifted high. Jace raised the rifle again, but the guard swung the rod faster. Light flashed. Pain shot up Jace's arm as the rod hit the weapon and knocked it away. He stumbled back. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. Her mouth open, and this time, her voice was not soft. She screamed. The sound was not human. It was a strange, high note that made the walls shake. The guard clutched his helmet and fell to his knees. Jace stared, shocked. Lyra's single quotes S voice rang out, clear and terrible, until the guard collapsed, silent. The ship went still. Lyra's eyes closed. She fell to her knees, breathing hard. Jace ran to her side. He touched her shoulder gently. She looked up, her voice hoarse. Stay, she whispered again. He nodded, tears in his eyes. I'm not leaving you, he said. The first word asterisk. Jace knelt beside Lyra, his heart racing. Her small body shook as she tried to catch her breath. The echo of her strange scream still rang in his ears. He had never heard a sound like it. It was not just a voice. It was something powerful, something that made the air vibrate and the metal walls hum. He touched her shoulder carefully. Lyra, are you all right? She lifted her head slowly. Her silver eyes were bright with tears, but she nodded once. You spoke, he whispered, his voice rough with wonder. Her lips parted. Stay, she said again, her voice hoarse but clear. It was only one word, but it felt bigger than anything he had ever heard. I'm here, he said softly. I won't leave. She reached for him, her small hand pressing against his chest. Her skin was warm. Behind them, the ship was silent. The traitor's guards lay on the floor, stunned by her voice. Smoke drifted from the ends of their shock rods. Jace looked at them, then back at her. Your voice did that. Lyra closed her eyes and nodded. How? He asked gently. She swallowed hard. Song? She whispered. Her voice was still rough, but each word came a little easier. Your song hurt them? Jace asked. She opened her eyes. Not hurt, she said slowly. Stop. He felt a chill. Your people, they all can do this. Lyra looked down at her hands. Before, she said, her voice small. Before, they took. Voice, he felt anger burn in his chest. He thought of the traitor bragging that she was mute, that she was worthless. They tried to silence you, he said. She nodded again. But you spoke, he said. You did it. Her lips trembled. Because you listened. He felt something break in his heart. He had never wanted anything in return when he took her from that cage. He just could not watch her sit there like she was nothing. You are not alone anymore, he said. She looked up at him. For a moment, she did not look afraid. A loud bang made them both jump. The trader's voice crackled through the ship's speakers. Give her to me now, or I will destroy you. Jace helped Lyra stand. Her legs were weak, but she did not fall. Come on, he said. We have to move. She gripped his hand tight. They stepped over the stunned guards and into the cockpit. Jace checked the controls. Damage lights flashed on every screen. The ship could not take another hit. He looked at Lyra. Can you do it again? Your voice? She shook her head. Tired, she whispered. He nodded. Then we run. He pressed a button to open the comms. This is Jace, he said, trying to keep his voice calm. I'm leaving. If you fire, you'll hit your own men. The trader's answer was cold. I don't care. Jace swallowed. He looked at Lyra. Hold on, he said. He pushed the engines to full power. The ship lurched forward, breaking free from the docking clamps. Metal screeched as they pulled away. Through the window, he saw the trader's ship charging weapons. Come on, he whispered to the engines. Just a little faster. Lyra pressed her hand to the glass. Her silver eyes locked on the enemy. Ship. The comms crackled again. You will not escape. The trader hissed. JACE single quotes as heart pounded. But before the trader could fire, something unexpected happened. Lyra closed her eyes. Her mouth opened. A soft note filled the cockpit, sweet and low. It was not the scream from before. It was something gentler. The screens flickered. The lights dimmed. And on the trader's ship, power lights blinked out one by one. Jace watched in shock as the massive engines went dark. The trader's ship drifted, dead in space. Lyra opened her eyes. She looked tired, but her voice was calm, safe. She whispered. JAC felt his chest ache. He reached out and took her hand. You did that, he said softly. You saved us. She looked at him, and for the first time, he saw a small smile on her lips. You helped me. Speak, she said. He closed his eyes, fighting back tears. And I always will, he promised. Outside, the stars moved slowly past them. The trader's ship grew smaller behind them. They were free, and she was not silent anymore. Asterisk running together. Asterisk. The ship moved through the darkness of space, leaving the trader behind. The engines hummed steady under Jace's hands. He glanced at the radar again to be sure. No ships followed. They were really free. He let out a long breath he had been holding. Lyra sat in the co-pilot's chair, her small hands folded in her lap. Her eyes were half closed, but she watched every light on the dashboard. You should rest, Jace said softly. Her head turned to him. No, she whispered, safe together. Her voice was still rough, but it was getting stronger. Every word she spoke made something warm bloom in his chest. Together, he repeated. He set the ship on autopilot and stood up. He walked to the small cabinet and pulled out a blanket. When he draped it around her shoulders, she looked up at him with those silver eyes. Thank you, she whispered. You don't have to thank me, he said. You saved us both. She shook her head a little. You listened. He did not know what to say to that, so he sat in the chair beside her. For a while, the only sound was the engines and the soft beeping of the controls. Lyra closed her eyes and leaned her head against the chair. She looked tired, but not afraid. JACE reached out and gently covered her hand with his. We're going to find your people, he said. There has to be more like you out there. Her eyes opened. She watched him with a quiet hope. Family, she whispered. He nodded. Yes, your family. Her fingers curled around his. I don't know where to start looking, he admitted, but we'll find a way. She was quiet for a moment. Then she looked down at the recorder still in her lap. Song? Well, guide, she said. Your song, she nodded. It calls. Jace felt a chill, but not from fear. It calls to who? He asked. To others, she said softly. To home? He swallowed. Then we follow it. Her lips curved in the smallest smile. The moment was broken by a sudden beep from the radar. Jace turned back to the screen. A small red light blinked on the edge of the display. What is it? Lyra asked, her voice thin. A drone, he said. The trader must have launched it before we disabled his ship. The drone's signal moved. Closer. Fast. JACE stood. We can't outrun it. We need to hide. He guided the ship toward the dark side of a nearby moon. As they slipped into the shadow, the lights on the console dimmed. Quiet, he whispered. Lara held her breath. Her eyes locked on the screen. The drone passed slowly over the surface. Searching. Come on, Jace murmured. Move along. But the drone stopped. Its signal grew stronger. Lara looked at him, fear rising in her eyes. They will come, she whispered. I know, he said. He felt her small hand reach for his again. Why? Help me, she asked softly. He looked at her and tried to find the right words. Because when I saw you in that cage, he said, I knew you didn't belong there. No one does. She blinked, and a tear slid down her silver cheek. Because you are not a thing, he continued. You are someone worth saving. Her lips trembled. Because you. Listen, she whispered. The drone moved closer to their ship, its searchlight sweeping across the dark rock. Jace felt the engines hum under his feet. Any second, the drone would see them. Lara, he said quietly, can you see again? Her eyes closed. Tired, she whispered. I know, he said, but you're strong. She opened her eyes. Her gaze was steady. Together, she said. He nodded. She pressed her hand to her throat, took a shaking breath, and began to hum. The note was soft at first, barely more than a whisper, but it grew, filling the cockpit with a deep vibration. The drone's light flickered. She kept singing. The drone froze, its engines whining in protest. Jace watched the radar. The signal stuttered, then vanished. She stopped singing and slumped back in her seat, exhausted. The silence was complete. You did it, he said, on his voice. Her breathing was slow and heavy. Safe? He nodded. Safe? She closed her eyes, and this time, she finally rested. Jace looked out at the stars. He did not know where they would go next. But wherever it was, they would go together. The voice of hope. Hours later, the ship drifted in quiet space. The dark side of the moon hid them from any more drones. Jay sat in the pilot's seat, watching the radar. No red signals, no alarms. He finally let himself breathe. Lyra still slept in the co-pilot's chair. Her face looked calm, her silver hair loose around her shoulders. She was so still. He almost worried something was wrong, but when he touched her hand, she stirred and opened her eyes. You're awake, he said softly. She blinked and looked around, as if trying to remember where she was. Safe, he reminded her. She nodded. He hesitated, then asked, do you remember what you said before, about the song? Her eyes lifted to his. It calls, she whispered, voice tired but clear. To your people, he said. She nodded again. Do you want to try? He asked gently, to sing it all the way. She looked down at her hands. Afraid, she whispered. Of what? No answer, she said. He felt something twist in his heart. Lara, he said, if there's even a chance someone will hear you, you have to try. She was quiet for a long time. Finally, she nodded once. Okay, she said softly. He helped her stand. Together, they walked to the back of the ship where the comms panel glowed. You can sit here, Jay said. He pulled over a chair. She lowered herself onto it. Her hands rested on her knees. He crouched in front of her. I'll stay, he said. No matter what happens. Her silver eyes lifted to his. Together, she whispered. Together. He promised. She closed her eyes for a moment. Nothing happened. Then she opened her mouth. A low note filled the room. It was not loud, but it felt deep, like it moved through the walls and into the metal of the ship itself. The control panels flickered. The comms lights pulsed in rhythm with her voice. Jace held his breath. She sang another note, higher this time. The sound made his skin prickle. It was beautiful and sad all at once. He watched the radar screen. Nothing changed. Then, slowly, a small green dot appeared. His heart jumped. Lara, he whispered, someone's there. Her voice grew stronger. The melody was smooth now, no longer broken or afraid. Two more green dots appeared on the radar. Her eyes were still closed. Her face calmed. She sang a final note, soft and clear. The ship grew still. The radar showed 3 signals, all moving toward them. She opened her eyes. They heard me, she whispered. Jace swallowed past the tightness in his throat. You did it, he said. She looked at him, her lips trembling in a small smile. Home, she said softly. He nodded. They're coming for you. Her eyes grew wet with tears, but she did not look away. Thank you, she whispered. He shook his head. No. Thank you for trusting me. Outside the windows, the first ship appeared. It was small and sleek, silver like her skin. Lights glowed along its hull in soft patterns. Lyra stood slowly, her hand pressed over her heart. The comms beeped. A clear, musical voice spoke in a language Jace did not know. But Lyra did. Her face lit up. She answered in the same language. Her voice was strong and sure now. The comms voice replied. She turned to Jace, her eyes bright. They are my people, she said. They come to take me home. He tried to smile, though his heart felt heavy. That's good, he said. She stepped closer. Her hand reached for his. Come, she whispered. What? Come with me, she said. He looked at her, surprised. You want me to go? He asked. Together, she said again. He felt something warm fill his chest. Okay, he said softly. She smiled, a real smile, bright and full of life. The hatch opened, and fresh air spilled into the ship. The alien vessel hovered outside, waiting. Jace took Lyra's hand. They walked together down the ramp into the light. The song that had saved them still echoed in his mind, and he knew he would never forget it.